As an educator, I believe I'm a lifelong learner because I think there's always something new to learn, and I'm always humbled by how much I don't know yet. And I think learning is an ongoing process. I'm also an avid reader, and I love reading. And as a child, I would read anything with print, from cereal boxes to ketchup bottles to novels, biographies, magazines, and the like. You know, it amazes me every time there is something new to learn, and it humbles me by how much I don't know yet. So welcome to my TED Talk, because this is exactly what I'll be talking about: finding the known in the unknown and the unknown in the known. And I would like to start by asking a question. Do we really know what we think we know? So the things we know, I think, becomes our knowledge. And knowledge, I think, is fleeting. It is temporary. So as you move on from one grade to another, some of you may have graduated from college. When you're learning so many new things, have you ever found out just how much you don't know? And maybe the things that you once knew may have changed into a new reality? So I'll speak for myself. Throughout my schooling years, I knew Pluto as the smallest planet in the solar system. And as a teenager, I would read a lot of books about science. It always fascinated me. Astronomy always fascinated me. So, as a child, I always felt protective about this small planet because it was the farthest from us, and I thought, well, it must be pretty lonely out there. I felt betrayed when it was demoted to a dwarf planet in 2006 because, this new knowledge was unsettling for me, because my mind was fixed with what I knew. So if we're flexible to understand that the knowledge we have will change one day, we may desire to wonder what other secrets are left to explore in this world. Will we become a multi-planet species, as Elon Musk proposes? Do we live in a multiverse? Do parallel universes exist? I don't know. But if we're willing to explore different dimensions in this world, it will help if we are open-minded learners and are ready to learn, unlearn, and relearn concepts in life. Now, in this age of data and technology, knowing what we don't know is more important and easier. If I think I don't know something, I will just Google it. It's that easy. Information is at the tip of our fingers. But finding out what you don't know is not always easy. It is more of an art than science. And it requires a willingness to accept new information and challenge what you already know. I would like to share this quote by Adam Grant. If knowledge is power, knowing what we don't know is wisdom. So how do you find out what you don't know? You can start by asking questions. Question everything. Question the reality. Don't worry about why you question or what you can't answer for now. It is said that the average toddler asks about 100 to 300 questions in a day. Imagine how many we could ask. So have the mindset of a child. Have a sense of wonder. And have holy curiosity. When you discover a gap in your knowledge, view it as an opportunity to seek wisdom. Now, when we look at big words like these, wisdom, knowledge, what it takes to be mentally fit, I think the first word that comes to our mind is intelligence, because the smarter you are, the more problems you can solve. Now, traditionally, intelligence has been viewed as the ability to think and learn. But in a turbulent world, as we are in one right now, I think there's another set of skills that might matter more, and that is the ability to rethink, unlearn, and relearn. So when I look at the whole process of rethinking, I agree with Adam Grant when he says it unfolds into a cycle because it starts with intellectual humility, knowing what we don't know. And when I reflect on myself, I can list down some areas where I think I'm ignorant. I don't have enough knowledge yet. And for me, this would be fashion. This is not my doing. I had help with this. Chemistry, finance, why British accents turn American in songs. Why am I able to see clearly without my glasses when I dream? I don't know yet. Why is it impossible to tickle yourself? And some other relevant examples where I believe the whole process of rethinking has been applied. And that would be our combined efforts in saving the planet, reducing the carbon footprint, people turning vegan, and working from home that had become the new norm in the past 1 year or so. So related to rethinking, I would like to share this article that I read about the Apple company. It's very interesting. In 2004, Apple's engineers, designers, and marketers pitched to Jobs about turning their hit product, the iPod. Did you guys ever use it? Yeah? So they went up to Jobs and they say, how about we turn this iPod into a cell phone? Because his team had recognized that cell phones were beginning to feature the ability to play music. But Jobs thought this was the dumbest idea ever. Yeah, and he did not want to jeopardize Apple's thriving iPod business. But his team were already doing research in that area. Now, unfortunately, Jobs hated cell phone companies. In several meetings, he swore over and over that he would never make a cell phone. But with the research that his team were doing, they persuaded Jobs that he didn't know what he didn't know and asked him to rethink about his decisions. They argued it might be possible to build a smartphone that everyone would love using and get it done the Apple's way. Jobs finally gave in, and today, I think most of us have his best product in our hands. The iPhone represented a dramatic leap in rethinking smartphones. At this point, I would like to speak a little bit about the curse of knowledge. So the curse of knowledge is that it closes our minds to what we don't know. And sometimes this happens because we may become so comfortable and overconfident with what we know that we're not willing to look at other dimensions, other areas, other information that comes across our way. And maybe Jobs suffered from the curse of knowledge. I'm not sure, but maybe he was saved by his team who were experts. But maybe if we look at other companies that may have suffered from the curse of knowledge, I would start looking at what happened to BlackBerry and Yahoo. Did they suffer from the curse of knowledge? Not sure. Sorry. And the curse of knowledge can also be known as a cognitive bias, which means that when we know something so well, we may not be able to understand those who don't know it as well as we do. How many of you play the dumb charades? Yeah, and you might be pretty good at it. Now imagine if you had to teach this game to someone who has never played it before. It won't be an easy task, right? So sometimes what happens is that it clouds our judgment because we may not be able to understand that people may have different thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs that are different from ours. And so at times I think it's important that we stop and rethink about things. And therefore I believe rethinking is an important skill in life. And if I'm wrong, I'll be quick to rethink again. Now, this realization did not come to me easily, that I could be wrong. As a child, I hated being wrong and was always determined on being right. In school, I would look for opportunities to correct the teacher. And during examinations, I'd flip through the exam papers and try and find as many typos and errors I could find. Of course, there were several humbling experiences where I was proved wrong. But one that really shook my humility was when I was in primary school and I made a mistake in the spelling test for the first time. And I spelled pronunciation wrong. I still remember it because it was the most embarrassing moment for me. But of course, we can get a lifetime of evidences where we were wrong. So what I'm trying to say is, we choose our views based on what we think we know. So we should also be able to rethink them anytime we want. When I became a teacher for the first time, I modeled the behavior of the teachers who had taught me. They were stern, authoritarian, patronizing, and had the final say. You do as they say. It was their way and no other way. And as a teacher, I enjoyed being in this position of power. So once I was questioned of my attitudes by one of my school leaders, and she asked me, "Did you enjoy your schooling experiences with those kind of teachers?" And I said, "No, absolutely not." No, this forced me to reflect on my attitudes, rethink about what I was doing. So I had to unlearn my old ways and relearn the holistic teaching and learning approach with an understanding that I may have to do this whole process of reflecting, rethinking, and learning, relearning, over and over again, every time there is something new to learn. I would like to talk more about the same experience by using this hero's journey chart. So the hero's journey chart was popularized by Campbell. And as you can see, it's divided into two parts. At the top, you have what they call the normal world. And the normal world are the things that we know, the knowledge that we have. And you can even call it your comfort zone, but which is just the tip of the iceberg. Because down there, you have a whole big world of the unknown. And these are the things we don't know yet. So the hero's journey usually begins with a call to adventure. And for me, that was becoming a teacher for the first time. And then you meet a mentor. So for me, that was the school leader who helped me reflect on my practices and rethink about what I was doing. Then you cross the threshold because you now enter into a world of the unknown. And that is when you're learning a new skill, something that you're not familiar with, something you don't have enough knowledge about. And when you're learning something new, there's always trials and failure, but also there's growth and new skills. So there is death of old beliefs and rebirth of the new knowledge, the new skills that you're just learning. There is revelation in you as you start to acknowledge the changes that are taking place in you. You're finally getting ready to return back into the world. And so what happens next? So you return back into the world, a new person, new knowledge, you've changed. Is that enough? Will this new knowledge remain new? Are the changes that have taken place in you enough to last for a lifetime? I think not. Because I would be willing to take this call to adventure every time an opportunity presents itself. As students yourself, you might be forced to leave your comfort zone, maybe when you go abroad to attend college. Some of you will be moving to new grades. You might be taking up new subjects. There may be moments of fear and self-doubt, but take that as your call to adventure. And try and go through this whole process, just so that you can evolve into a bigger and better version of yourself. With an understanding probably that, every time there's a call to adventure, you jump right at it. Don't let the opportunities go. I would like to end my talk by, again, asking a question. How do you know? I think this is a question we need to ask more often, both of ourselves and of others. And it is not to sound annoying, but to seek the truth. And sometimes I think it's also important to ask things that have already been explained, because sometimes those explanations are no longer correct or may have changed with new research, new knowledge. Questions like these have helped to uncover myths like bulls hate the color red, but they're actually colorblind. Camels store water in their humps, but they store fat. Christopher Columbus discovered America, but the Native Americans already lived there. And this one was a bit difficult for me to accept. The 5-second rule to food that falls on the floor, well, it gets instantly contaminated. Yeah, how some of us have survived, I think it's a miracle. I would also like to share a very recent experience that I had just a few days back. So I was on tea break, and I was with one of my work colleagues. I had a bowl of cereal with milk in it, and I was about to add honey. And she's like, stop. Milk and honey will make you fat. So I immediately put the bottle down. I don't want to get fat, of course. And then I stopped and thought for a moment. I'm like, hey, how do you know? She was taken aback. She's like, what? I'm like, how do you know that milk and honey will make me fat? And she wasn't so sure. And so she's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I read it somewhere or I heard it from someone. I'm like, aha, so you don't know. Well, I had the cereal with the milk and honey anyways, and I told her to get back at me with the research. But then I think it's important that we keep questioning, and we should be willing to be open-minded, to know that we may not really know what we think we know, and that we don't know everything yet. Thank you.